one thing that we all overindulge in over the holidays is meat, for those of us who love meat, of course. And we always need our protein consistently. In 2019, we do things different and we're gonna be doing things on a budget. And these two beef stews are under 500 Kenya shillings. I'm pretty sure you're like, girl, we don't believe you. I'm gonna be showing you how to whip that up in a matter of minutes. If there's one thing that you can find in any spot is a butchery, because it probably won't have the chicken, it won't have lamb, but it's probably gonna be having some beef, right? And you can get it at quarters, halves, full kilo. Now this is a recipe you can make wherever you are in the world, okay? It's not just specific to Nairobi or Kenya. Now for the second beef yogurt that we're making, we have it cut up like this, and you can, of course, if you want it to get it a little bit chunky, you can go ahead and do that. My preference is I kind of like the small. I feel like the flavors absorb a lot better. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our yogurt right here, and we're just gonna pour it into our beef, and then we're just gonna sit the beef with the yogurt here while we start preparing our first round of beef. So while the other beef is boiling, I'm gonna be preparing the second part of the beef, or rather the second beef stew. And for this, we're gonna be needing some onions right here. This is about 1 onion that I've finely diced. We're also gonna be needing 2 tomatoes that I've finely diced as well. We're also gonna be needing some ginger and garlic paste, which I've just like whizzed up with just a little bit of water. And this is gonna be like, we're gonna probably need about 1 teaspoon. And also we're gonna be needing some cilantro stems, which I chopped up. The cilantro leaves we're gonna use as a garnish. And for our spices, now I usually tell you guys that if you have a pantry full of spices, things you can make are endless. So this is whole pilau masala right here, right? Whole pilau masala. You can get a small pack of this for 85 shillings, which I spotted at the store. And we're gonna be using some of the spices inside here to make our sauce. We also have some garam masala that we're gonna be using, and we have a little bit of cinnamon. Of course, we are gonna be using garlic powder, I don't need to show you guys that, and a little bit of salt and some tomato paste. Some basics that you already have at home. If you do not have tomato paste, you can buy this really small one for 20 shillings, 22 shillings, 25 shillings, and you can keep it in your fridge and use it. So let's head over to the stove and start whipping things up. Our pan is nice and hot. We're gonna add in about 1.5 tablespoons of oil. Kind of swirl that bad boy around. And then of course we are gonna take our cumin seeds from in here. I'm gonna throw that in there. It's about 1 teaspoon. We are gonna take our 4 cardamom seeds, which we've opened, and of course add that into there. It smells so good. And of course we're gonna add in our onion. We're gonna add in some cinnamon, about 1/2 teaspoon. And then we're gonna add in our tomatoes. I'm going to add in about 1 teaspoon of garam masala. A pinch of salt. and some ginger and garlic paste, about 1 teaspoon. We're gonna stir this in. And then we're just gonna cover and let everything cook, or rather the tomatoes to cook. We've turned down our heat to medium-low so that the magic happens. So our tomatoes are nice and soft. We're just crushing them down. Just gonna add in our diluted tomato paste. Now, one thing that I've always noticed is like tomato paste really dilutes like the flavor that you of course have going on. So in terms of salt, you would definitely need to add like another pinch. And then I'm just gonna be adding in another teaspoon of garam masala in here, or rather half a teaspoon. And definitely some more ginger and garlic paste. That was about another teaspoon as well. Now I'm going to taste this to see what I need to adjust before I add in my meat. So our meat that's been sitting in the yogurt just gonna go in there. I'm gonna rinse out this bowl with some hot water. Now I'm just going to cover the pot and of course let it cook for 35 minutes. Of course, occasionally stirring to see if the water has dried out or if it, needs a little bit more salt, but I'm just gonna leave everything to just marry and cook together. Now we've just finished our boiling our meat for 25 minutes. I used a fork to check if it was completely boiled. Now, I don't want to waste any of this broth that's in here. I'm going to be adding in some ginger and garlic paste, like so. And then I'm going to drain out the broth that's in here. And I'm going to set it aside, like so. Now my heat is on absolutely high. I just want the water that's left at the bottom here to evaporate before I add in just a little bit of oil, some onions, and we can start cooking this bad boy up. Okay, the water has completely evaporated. We're gonna be adding in about half a tablespoon, or like a tablespoon of oil actually, just to like slightly brown the meat. We're gonna add in our onion right here. This is one whole onion that I have sliced up. I'm gonna throw that in there. It's at this point we're gonna be adding in some black pepper and some cumin, about half a teaspoon, and we're also going to be adding in half a teaspoon of some cumin as well. You can tell the onions have softened, and then we're going to add in our cilantro stems. And then we're gonna be adding in 2 tomatoes that we have diced. Now we want the tomatoes to cook down with some flavor, so we're going to be adding in half a teaspoon of this ginger and garlic paste. We're also going to be adding in just another hint of cumin. And then we're just going to cover this and let the tomatoes soften. Okay. So it's been about a minute. The tomatoes have softened. I'm going to be adding in just a little bit of garlic powder. And gradually, I'm going to be adding in some tomato paste that I've diluted with some hot water. So I'm trying to deglaze the pot because all the flavor is like trapped at the bottom, so I'm trying to scrape it off to make sure to get all the flavor out. Of course, at this point, you want to taste and adjust. So I'm going to be adding in a little bit more salt in here. A hint of some hot water. Now the thing with this recipe, when I first made it, I've made it now a couple of times, I've noticed like adding more layers of cumin as you go totally helps enhancing the flavor. And definitely some ginger and garlic paste adds on as well. I'm just going to add in the rest of my tomato paste. And then I'm going to cover it for like another 40 seconds just for the spices to cook, which is the cumin and the ginger and garlic paste. It's been about a minute. I'm just going to stir this in. I'm probably going to just add in just another splash of hot water, just like a slight splash. Turn up the heat just a bit. And then you're going to add in, turn down the heat back to low once it's come to simmer. You're going to add in your Sukuma, your Swiss chard. Now, this is a mixture of 3 batches of Sukuma and 1 batch of spinach. This is like such a popular way of making beef and Sukuma out here for a lot of people. And what's another thing that I say? I've seen like a couple of people do it in Zimbabwe as well, especially with like mbuzi. So this is just what we do out here. I just chose to elevate it in another way. We're gonna cover it and let the Sukuma and spinach cook down, and we're gonna check on it in like 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. And it seems as though it's cooked down. There we go. Just gonna mix everything together now. Now, the beef broth that I had set aside, I completely forgot about it because here I was just in my own thoughts. So I'm just gonna be adding a splash of it into here. It looks and smells so good. Like, smells so goddamn good. This is like my favorite part. I get to taste because I need to adjust. Okay. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add in some garlic powder. And a pinch of salt, just like a slight hint of cumin. And then I'm gonna add in back the beef broth. And then cover this for like another minute or so that the spices can cook down. Okay, it's been about another minute. This looks ready to go. Our beef and Sukuma Swiss chard is ready. We're gonna set that aside. Now we are gonna go back to the first meat that we made. It's been 35 minutes actually. I'm adding in my garnish. It smells exquisite. You can just stir everything in again together and turn it off, and we can serve. So first up is the greens and beef. Second up is our creamy, slightly creamy, thick beef stew. This is my 2 ways to make beef stew. Of course, there's several other ways to incorporate beef. I love to cook it sometimes with wine, or sometimes just cook it in the oven for hours, or rather just an hour or some change. I like to pair it up with like some celery. There's several ways that I actually enjoy making my beef. These are just 2 of the ways that I've made them for you guys, and they are under 500 shillings. If you have the spices on hand, this makes it so much more easier to cook. I don't want to keep rambling. I don't want to keep people hungry in my house. I want us to dig in and eat. Let me know what else you'd like to see in these budget meal under 500 in the comment section below. Also, your feedback would be immensely appreciated. So do share this video. Do, of course, like and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next Miss Mandi Throwdown video. Once you do make these meals, make sure to tag me. I just want to say I love you guys and thank you so much for your support. Till the next video, those kisses are coming like fire, baby.